great. Today we're going to talk about divine timing in probably a different way than you may have heard about it before. So, divine timing, and this is the title of today's live, is a mirror of who you choose to become. And we are typically told to think of divine timing in a way of something that we're supposed to trust, right? That we're supposed to wait and surrender to it and believe that if the timing is right, then everything will just fall into place, right? That we can't have what we want yet because it's just not the timing, right? And maybe a lot of us have been living like that. I did for a really long time. I thought that divine timing was something outside of me, right? But what if I told you that divine timing isn't something that you wait for, that it's actually something that you activate, and you activate it by becoming the version of yourself that's ready, that's able to hold the life that you desire, the things that you want in your life, the relationships, right? The business, the money, the whatever it is, right? The peace, the fulfillment. And so the truth about divine timing is far more interesting and far more powerful than a lot of these spiritual New Age teachings would have us believe. And a lot of these new perspectives that I have that I'm going to be sharing in the coming weeks on our lives of these concepts of spirituality that are more popular, but maybe we don't really know the nuance of them, right? Or maybe we're not looking at them through the right lens that actually helps us be empowered, right? And actually helps us use them to make our lives better. But the idea that divine timing is something that's a prophecy or a predestination, or that a test that we have to pass, is very embedded in modern religious, or even not even modern, in religious teachings. We're not taught that you are a fractal of God, right? And that you are making the choices from that place. When you remember that that's what you are, and that's who you are, and that's the kind of power that you wield, then you realize that it's all you. It's not floating in the sky somewhere waiting to drop blessings when you finally earned what it is that you want in your life. That's spiritual disempowerment dressed up as mysticism. And I feel like a lot of mainstream teachings are that way, whether it's in religion or in the New Age. But divine timing is not a deadline. It's not something that's outside of you. It's the outcome of the free will choices that you make. It's not a force outside of you. It's what happens as a result of the moment that you become a vibrational match to what you desire. It's a version of you. It is the next version of who you're becoming. And so from this lens, when we start to really look deeper into past these surface level teachings, and we start to dig deeper, we start to see that there are deeper truths underneath of all this. It returns you to the seat of your power, and it helps you to realize that it's really all you, that there's nothing outside of you, that we may live in a collective reality, but we are very much in charge of our own timeline and very much in charge of our own personal experience here, right? And that nothing really outside of us has a whole lot of control over that. And really, it just depends on who and what version of ourselves that we're ready to become, right? And so there's this different versions of ourselves. There are infinite timelines, infinite versions of you living a life. And some of them look exactly like this one with just small tweaks, and some of them look wildly different from this one. And so there is a version of you right now that is fully met in love. There's one that builds the business. There's one that still hides and still repeats patterns and still retreats. But in understanding divine timing this way, we can understand that every time we shift a belief or heal a pattern or honor a soul nudge, our intuition, we get closer to the version of ourselves that's already living the life that we want to call in. And so then divine timing doesn't become about someday on the calendar, which we know never comes when we look at life that way. We know that, right? It becomes about identity. It becomes about something that you become. And so now manifestation goes from trying to get something out there that I don't have right now, but a journey of becoming, of stepping into our power and becoming the source that creates our reality. And so through this lens, you're not waiting on divine timing. Divine timing is actually waiting on you. It's waiting on the moment that you stop outsourcing your power, right? And that you realize, I'm creating all of this. And I know that that's a big, tall thing for a lot of us to swallow. And oh my gosh, in the beginning it especially was for me. I had so much resistance to taking responsibility for everything. But it's been probably the thing that has transformed my life the most, was being able to really take responsibility for absolutely everything. In some way, I created it, whether it was just exacerbating situations or manipulating situations, or because of the way I felt inside, how I wanted people to perceive me, or how I wanted people to be a certain way because I needed them to be that way, and I tried to manipulate that. Or I was worried about how I was going to pay bills, or I was worried about whether or not I'd be alone, or all of these things, the fear, the pride, the shame, the guilt, all of these things, and how we feel on the inside influences our entire reality and our relationships with everyone around us. And so the moment that we decide to take responsibility and meet that ache within with action and the intention to become the person who fills up that ache without anything outside, is really the moment where everything starts to shift. It's the moment that you start to live as the woman who no longer needs permission to receive or needs to be chosen by someone. And ironically, that's the moment that everything you want is drawn to you. It seems that way, right? That everything is magnetized to you. And this is what I've been working with my clients as well. The minute that you are so full and so happy in your own life that you don't need anyone else, and you really don't, and this is a journey to get there. It took me a while to get to this point. But when I said to myself, it's okay if I never find a partner. I want a soulmate partner to share my life with. But I got to the point where I was so full and happy in my own life and with myself that I didn't need it. And the moment I let go of it maybe never coming was the moment it showed up. It's almost as if we live in a reality where we have to balance paradoxes. The wanting of something and the not needing it have to meet before it all falls into place. And that's a difficult balance, right? Especially when we are identifying as our human self, as this person who is programmed with limitations. And so this is the journey. This is the journey of self-mastery, right? And so through this lens, we see that seeing prophecy as something that controls our reality, or this higher power that's making choices on our behalf, we start to see that that is ways of viewing life that belong to the uninitiated. These are ways to perceive the way reality works from a lens of not stepping into our power and choosing our sovereignty. So But it's a relief to know that we're not bound by fate that's been decided, that we're actually bound by frequency. And frequency and vibration are other words that get thrown around a lot out here in the interwebs, and that I don't believe that they are actually understood on the level that they can be understood. So I'm going to get that clear really quick. Vibration is momentary, right? This is your emotional state at any given time, and emotions come and go. They rise and fall. We can't control them. They come through us, right? And we're not meant to control them. But your vibration, your vibrational set point, is ebbs and flows, because it flows with the emotions, right? And your frequency is long-term. It's your soul's energetic set point. So it's your overall level, your vibration overall, if that makes sense. And so emotions are physiological, right? They're meant to move through us. This is why we don't have to control our emotions. We just have to get good at sitting with them until they transmute into something else. We're meant to feel them. This is how we feel alive. This body is this bridge between our higher self, our soul, our source self, our unseen self, and our persona, the person that we are, the role that we're playing, the character we're playing in this dream, in this elaborate dream that we're living. And so, and then feelings are really defined by and controlled by the meaning we assign to them. And that meaning literally creates our reality. And so it's the story we're telling ourselves, plain and simple. It is the story that we're telling her. And sometimes that story is not clear because we're so used to telling it that we think it's truth with a capital T. And it's so programmed that we may not even catch ourselves thinking the story instant that we automatically assigned a feeling, a meaning, something that it means about us. And yet those meanings that we assign those feelings are not the truth, even though they may feel like it. Believe it or not, they're addictions. They're habits. And this is coming from someone who 10 years ago was deep in addiction. So it's an unraveling, right? And this path is not about learning, it's about unlearning more than anything else. But it's really awesome to understand on a conceptual level and to really start to feel into that we don't create from our fleeting emotions. And so it's okay to feel our emotions, because that's not creating our reality. We also don't create from random thoughts. We create from patterned thoughts that are so ingrained in us that they go on their own. Those ones that are deeply rooted in our subconscious, the ones that we don't see the story because we're so used to the story that we don't even have to play it through. We just automatically assign a feeling to that story or a situation to that story. I hope this makes sense. So we don't have to manage our thoughts. We don't have to manage our emotions. What creates our reality is our sustained frequency, our overall energetic signature, right? And when we start learning how to shift our internal landscape, our beliefs, our stories, our somatic baseline, the way we feel in our body on a regular basis, right? How we handle our triggers and our situations, and not by trying to control it, but by identifying those stories and those beliefs behind it and starting to rewrite them. We start to really reset our energetic set point, right? Which is one of the set points for magnetism, that magnetizes the things that we want, the experiences we have, the opportunities that are available for us. And so that's how we align with the timeline where what we want for ourselves already exists. We're not really attracting anything to ourselves. Creation is actually already finished, and it just exists beyond our perception. And so now it doesn't become trying to attract this person or this money or this opportunity or this experience. And it becomes becoming the next best version of yourself by undoing all the conditioning that made you forget that you can do that anytime you want. And then we align with the next version of ourselves and the next version of ourselves. And when we do it like this, it's an initiation. And every time you clear a belief, you clear a pattern, and every time you remember to be present and bring yourself and instead of running on an automatic program, you decide in the moment to rewrite the program, and you decide what the new meaning is. Every time you do that, you're getting closer and closer to direct communication with your higher self. You're always in direct communication with your higher self. You can't be disconnected from your higher self. But it becomes something tangible to you that you actually can feel and experience. And so you feel more tapped in, and things just start to flow. So I want to invite you to feel into where you can identify yourself in this, right? I'm just going to name 3. There are more. But common roles that women that I've worked with myself included, fall into when we think that divine timing is something outside of us, right? When we are misunderstanding what it really is. And the first one I want to call her the waiter, right? Because she's intuitive, she's heart-led, she's deeply spiritual, but she feels stuck. She's secretly afraid to leap because she feels unprepared, or fear. There's fear there because programming wants to keep us safe, and she's afraid that if she does something differently or changes something that she'll lose something, right? That's the deeper thing behind it. But she calls it waiting. She's waiting for some grand permission, right? But it's really hesitation on a divine level. And so she waits for a sign. And so a good question to ask if you identify with this, the waiter archetype, is, am I waiting on a sign, or am I being asked to become one? Because we don't wait for evidence that things are going the way we want. We become the evidence. We create the evidence. We have to create the evidence, or there'll never be any evidence, because it's all you. It's all you. There is nothing outside of you that's going to create the evidence for you to see that this thing is going to work. You have to become it. The second archetype is the wisher, right? I think a lot of us can relate to this, right? When we first hear about manifestation, reality creation, mysticism, whatever it might be that you call it, we get into that like, oh, I really want that, right? And we wish for something that we don't have. We script, we journal, we visualize, but we don't actually take action, because we'll speak like our future self, but yet we still live like our past self, because we don't know any better. And a lot of it we don't see. And sometimes it takes someone else to hold up a mirror and show you in which ways we're doing this, right? That's what I've needed. And a great question for someone who is so used to trying to manifest something from outside is, what patterns am I still entertaining that contradict the life that I'm calling in for myself? What pattern is still there that's showing up energetically in your behavior, in your thoughts, in your feelings, that is frequenting at the point where it's become your frequency, and it's actually holding away from you what it is that you want to call in? And I'll give you one more. There could be others, but these are just some ways for you to identify yourself in this, to maybe help you pinpoint a path and a way for you to maybe dig deeper on your own in this. Or bring the conversation to the group and let's talk about it together. The third one is the weaver. I call it the weaver because she's doing the work. She's close. But she keeps second guessing her readiness. Because here's the thing, you do the shadow work, you do the visualization, you do the inner child healing and all the things, right? All the modalities and all the things. But you're not stepping into the identity of the person who's healed. And I did this too for the longest time, even up until a couple months ago, where I just wasn't seeing that I was identifying as the person who hadn't quite made it yet. And so a great question to ask yourself, if you see yourself here, is what would change if I stopped preparing to be her and I just started being her now? What if I just started living like her now? Telling myself that I am her? Fuck the outside world and your circumstances. Because if we wait to see the circumstances give us permission to be her, we'll be waiting forever. You be her, and that creates the circumstances. We have it. They've taught us everything backwards. Literally, everything we've ever been taught is a lie, honestly, because life doesn't work in the way they told us it works. Which is why we always feel like we're just this close to getting what we want and we never get it. Or we feel like we're just making ends meet, but we can't get ahead. And it's designed like this on purpose. And I don't say this to scare you or to upset you. It just is, right? This doesn't mean we need to go down rabbit holes of conspiracy theories and get neurotic about it. It just means that we need to figure out how it actually does work so we can make it work for us. So let's sum this up a little bit. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you're a match for. So, and you don't attract really anything from outside of yourself. You become it, and then you see the results. And so that version of you, the one with the depth, the devotion, the clarity, the confidence, the relationship, the money, the whatever, she has a different story. She has a different nervous system, and she has a different set of standards. And she's also available right now. And all it takes is getting those things in alignment. The story, the nervous system, and the standards. Using your sacred no when things are not in alignment. Monitoring that story in your mind. Monitoring what you make things mean. But even before that, what comes first is telling your body that you're safe. Right? All of that is super important. And that's really all that's necessary. It really is. And so, how can you put this into action today? So, let's clarify the identity, right? Think about it. You've been thinking, maybe, possibly, a lot of people have been thinking about it. This is what I want, and I have to figure out how to get it. Well, who is the identity of the version of you that has it? Who is she? What does she believe? What does she tolerate? What does she no longer tolerate? Does she look for things outside of herself anymore? Or does she return to herself? Does she use everything in her reality as a mirror to turn back into herself and figure out how to make herself whole here first? And then map that out, right? What actions or habits or thoughts are keeping you in the I'm not quite there yet? Is it an attachment to an outcome? Is it what you make it mean when you have certain feelings? Is there some rewriting to do? Because we get stuck in these loops, and I'm going to say it's due to trauma, but it's not necessarily the kind of trauma we think when we hear the word trauma. It's just things that happen that were highly emotional and imprinted. And they could be happy things or sad things. They could be really bad things, they could be really good things. It's just that we don't talk about the good things, because the good things tend to not have impact on us that doesn't serve us. Right? And so this doesn't mean there's anything wrong. It doesn't mean you're traumatized, you're broken, you're messed up, there's something wrong with you. It just means we need to shift our thinking. Perception is reality. Perception, the way you perceive the world is what creates your experience. And so if we can, which is this is what I've been doing, learn how to shift the way in which we perceive things, like we did today with divine timing, then that shifts everything for us. And we can keep shifting back to a place where we're in the seat of power. Because if it's disempowering, it's not true. It's just that simple. And I don't mean that you don't still experience it. It's an illusion because of the way you're seeing it. So another question that you could do today, because action's important. A lot of people teach that you don't have to do anything, but you do. We have to take action. Action's part of creation. What would she do, this version of you that has what you want? What would she do that you may have been avoiding? And do it. Not to get the thing, but to become the one that doesn't doubt anymore. To become that evidence that you can. Because the more you do that, the more you'll see it start to happen in your reality. You'll start to see things. Little things will start going your way at first. At first it'll be someone holds the door for you, or you get a text back from someone that you haven't heard from in a while. Little things start to happen. A payment comes in that you didn't expect. The little things start to happen. Opportunities open up. And that's how it starts. And we have to be wise, right? We have to have our eyes open and catch those little things so that we can realize that it's working, and that reaffirms our belief in ourselves and in our power. And then we get momentum, right? And that's how we create the bigger things. So if this opened up something for you, and you're realizing that maybe you've been calling it timing when it was really fear or doubt or contradiction or confusion, please come to the group, create a post. We can all have a conversation together. You're not here to wait for it to be handed to you. You're here to remember that you were the power all along, and that nothing is outside of you. It's actually all comes from within and through you. And so you reclaim it. You become it. Because you are the oracle. You are the mirror. You are divine timing. It's you. It's all you. Right? It's in your hands. And it's all you.